You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts or on our YouTube channel, all over social media, or our morning newsletter, KCSN Daily, dedicated to your Kansas City Chiefs. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? I'm BJ Kissel. That is Tucker Franklin, and we appreciate you for spending part of your Thursday with us as we are all just counting down the minutes until kickoff between the Chiefs and Chargers tonight at Arrowhead Stadium. Home opener. Tucker, how excited are you for this one?
I'm incredibly excited. I'm also incredibly excited that that our job is to kind of talk about this team, because I don't know how I could work a regular job and have to be productive and not talk about the Chiefs during this time. So that's what we're here to kind of help you get through the workday. Another thing that you can listen to leading up to the home opener, big day, first game on Amazon. That's a big thing in itself. I think the Chiefs are really going to put on some theatrics for it, from what we've heard from some of the higher ups in the Chiefs organization. So very excited for what this game holds. Not only and for it to just be a big game this early in the season. That's kind of crazy for it to be a week 2 game, and it seems like all eyes are already on this game.
Yeah, this is the one that we circled. I mean, we talked about this when the schedule came out. You know, I think it was early May when the schedule came out. That regardless of when it happened, you know, the Chiefs and the Chargers, with the Chargers being the one team, it felt like in the division, despite the fact that all of them made moves. We saw the Chargers make moves. We saw the Broncos and the Raiders make moves, but the Chargers, with what they did with J.C. Jackson, Khalil Mack, re-signing Mike Williams, you know, they were the ones that had the most legitimate shot at stopping the Chiefs from winning their 7th straight division title. And so whenever the game was going to be scheduled, it was going to be the big one. And the fact that it's week 2, the fact that it's the home opener at Arrowhead in prime time, like you mentioned, the first game on Amazon Prime with Kirk Herbstreit, Al Michaels, it'd be really interesting to see and hear those guys together talking football. But yeah, this is the one that you wanted. So we appreciate, again, everybody who's hanging out with us on YouTube this afternoon. Again, we're all just trying to get through the day together. So we appreciate you letting us distract you from doing your day jobs, whatever else you have going on. So shoot us some questions. Let us know where you're watching from, what your plan is for tonight. Let's just hang out for the next 30 minutes or so. This is what we are going to do for today's KCSN update video, and that's presented by our good friends over at DraftKings. And Tucker, I know that DraftKings was very good to you last week.
They're my really good friends right now, and I can't wait to hop over the border to Kansas tonight to kind of get some into that action. And you know what? You guys already know, if you've been listening to the show, that the wait is over. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is officially live in Kansas just in time for football season. That means betting legally on same-game parlays, spreads, money lines, and more anytime and anywhere across the Sunflower State. To celebrate, DraftKings is giving new Kansas customers a can't-miss offer. Bet just $5 on anything and get $200 in free bets instantly. If you haven't already downloaded the DraftKings Sportsbook app, do it now and use promo code KCSN to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on anything. That's code KCSN, only at DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Gambling problem, getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700. Must be 21 years or older and physically present in Kansas. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus issued as free bets. 1 early win token at opt-in. Money line bets only. Deposit and wagering restrictions apply. Eligibility and terms at DraftKings.com/Kansas on behalf of Boot Hill Resort and Casino. And BJ, there's some good lines out there for this game today. I'm really liking some of the props. The Casey Laboratory guys talked about some of the kind of the yardage and receiving and receptions yards lines last night for their little talking about the DraftKings stuff. I really like some of these things that we got set up here.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about DraftKings. I know we just went through the read, but we've also got the DraftKings Daily Fantasy League, which only a max of 50 people. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you go down to the YouTube description. If you are somebody who likes daily fantasy sports, we've got a league every week, 50 people max. Our 50 entries max can get in there, just one per person, but it's just $5 to enter that league. I know last week you won, $400. I finished dead last and still won like $25 because we didn't max out the signups, but I think it's going to happen. We've only got 7 spots left for this one. So if you're watching this and you want to hang out and talk through, talk a little trash, try to beat Tucker because he's getting a little cocky with his daily fantasy sports. But yeah, the lines you're mentioning before we get to the daily fantasy stuff on the sportsbook side of things, the 54.5 over under between these two teams, knowing that they both have starting corners that are banged up. I know the Chargers like to get after the passer. If anybody caught my conversation yesterday with Brett Coleman regarding what the Chargers like to do defensively, running a lot of cover one, very dangerous thing to do against Patrick Mahomes in this offense. I don't care if Tyreek Hill's not on this team. They still have guys who can run those deep overs, those deep crossers, if you have enough time to let those plays develop, which is why I said Orlando Brown Jr. is the key to this game. If he can give Patrick Mahomes a little bit of time and the Chargers continue to run a lot of that single high, that cover one stuff, like, it has the opportunity for the Chiefs to light him up and put some big points on the board if Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa don't just wreck things up front. So the 54.5 over under is the one that I look forward to most, but I like doing the single game parlays. So I just fit the other ones that are in there. And I think it's like, 3.5 touchdowns for the Chiefs. I'm like, well, I will take that. I'm going to root for success on the offensive side of the ball. It makes it more fun to watch.
I'm just taking a look here down at my DraftKings Sportsbook app. Great app, by the way. I know that we do get paid to talk about DraftKings, but this is a very good app. Very good, very easy to use. The same game parlay is really cool. Like if you want to parlay together Travis Kelce being the first touchdown scorer and Travis Kelce getting over 100 yards in this game, you can, and you could probably make yourself some good money. What I thought, BJ, was interesting, the over under for passing yards for Patrick Mahomes at 297.5 is what that over under is set at. I think it's a good line. Justin Herbert's is set at 283.5. So I do like some of these player props here. I like the over on the Patrick Mahomes. You have to think this is going to be a big day for him. But going back to your conversation with Brett Coleman yesterday, what I really liked was him talking about, hey, this game might be a little boring at the first couple quarters because, and you can go to our YouTube channel, got a short on there about what Brett was talking about, just trying to neutralize, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. It might be a little boring at first, but then the Chiefs offense is really going to blossom kind of after that once they get those tendencies down. And then they're going to break those tendencies with some of the play action pass stuff. So excited to see what the Chiefs can do offensively. I don't think that that's really the big question mark for this game. I think it's going to be more on the Chiefs defensive side of the ball. But yeah, some great stuff, some good stuff from DraftKings heading into this game.
Yeah, and let's stay on the DraftKings deal. And I know you mentioned if go to our YouTube channel. We're only streaming to YouTube. So if you're watching this, we know you're on our YouTube channel. So please hit that like and subscribe button if you have not already, and turn those notifications on. Again, we have content, multiple shows that Tucker is running through every single week on the Chiefs side. The Matt Castle, Matt Hamilton show, the breakdown that posted yesterday, is one of my favorite shows that we do. We'll fire up the Derek Johnson. Maybe you've heard of that guy. He's going to help us break down the defense again this year, just like he did last year with Mike DeVito and Craig Stout. And that'll begin next week. Tough on the short week with those guys, but a lot of cool stuff that we've got going on at KC Sports Network. I appreciate all your support. Hitting that like and that subscribe button is free. And make sure you don't miss a lot of content. You show up in the algorithm, you show up on the home screen more often. Make sure you don't miss anything. So we appreciate that. But Tucker, let's talk a little bit about the DraftKings KCSN Daily Fantasy Sports League that we have going on that you did so well last year. I'm not confident in my team that I drafted, with the money that I had this week. It's just $5. If you finish in the top 27 of 50, you get triple your money back at minimum. Like 27th place gets $15 back. So if you finish in the top half, you're getting your money. For anybody who hasn't done this before. Like I said, I got my money back last week because even though I had an absolutely terrible team, and I don't have any confidence in this one, Tucker, because can't put the Thursday game. It's for Sunday games, but there's no Chiefs on this. So I'm not feeling good. And I put Derek Carr as my quarterback.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think my quarterback's much better. I'll be honest with you though.
I have Vance Joseph stock just completely tanking after he decided to blitz Patrick Mahomes so much last week. I'm like, I don't know if this guy is doing what he needs to do to have success for the Arizona Cardinals defense. Yeah. So games in Vegas, hoping he puts up some points. And then I got Saquon Barkley, Michael Carter, as my running back. So I might just copy your team and just change like 2 guys, because that seems like a better strategy for me.
Yeah, I remember last week you were looking over, you're like, wait, how did I finish last? I had Patrick Mahomes, I had Travis Kelce, and I was like, no, BJ, that was my team. Like that, you were looking at
now it makes sense why you won. I was like, that's a good team, Tucker.
Yeah, but no, I found it kind of hard this week. It is just the Sunday noon and afternoon games, so it's just that little stretch there. You don't get the Sunday night game, you don't get the Monday night game, you don't get the Thursday night game. So all the games that are the single time slot, you don't get. I went with Carson Wentz as my quarterback. Hear me out. It's because he's playing the Detroit Lions.
He's playing fantasy-wise, he was pretty good last week, actually. I played against him in my league, and I lost my regular league with my buddies. It's not good. He didn't
look too bad. He didn't really look too bad. So maybe that can work. I've got Saquon. You've got to try to hit one of those high ticket items. You got to get one of those big ticket players in there and then kind of work around it. That's kind of how I build my league, is like, okay, who do I think will really go off, and like select those players. Saquon going against Carolina. That's what I look at a lot, is like, who's going against bad teams. What good players are going against bad teams? That's kind of how I build it. So now I just gave everyone the key to beat me in this. So there you go. The keys. You have the keys to the car, but you got to drive.
I took Devontae Adams. I mean, I'm all in with the Raiders this week against Arizona. If they're going to win a game, that's great. They can do it against the NFC opponent. Doesn't really affect anything down the road if they do catch fire and do something good. But yeah, I got Devontae Adams and Jamar Chase, because I think Jamar Chase is future Hall of Fame. Like, that guy is
good,
an absolute stud. If Joe Burrow, even with the new offensive line and all the resources and everything they did this offseason, still is getting hit a lot and still getting sacked, and they've got some issues there in a frustrating way. I'm really curious to see how they bounce back after that loss against the Steelers, because that is very much on a head coach and a culture type deal of, how can you make sure that you mentally keep that as just one game, even though it was against Pittsburgh, it was at home. I mean, that is a stinging way to lose, based on coming off, losing the Super Bowl. That was not the way they probably wanted to start their season.
No, it was even worse, as I took the Bengals plus 200 on the live money line when I saw they were down at halftime. So I was like, oh, they'll come back and win. Missed the extra point for the win. That was a tough one. That's a bad beat for me. But I took Jerry Jeudy because they're going against Houston. Houston did come out with the tie against the Colts last week, but I still don't think that they're a very good football team. And the 27th ranked defense according to DraftKings, so I took them there. The only one that's like questionable matchup wise for me, Julio Jones had a good game. I think got a lot of touches, got a lot of action. I took Julio Jones in this one at my flex position. Jalen Waddle was my other wide receiver. So yeah, there's some good stuff in there. Some good stuff at DraftKings. And what I really like about the league, before we completely move on, we do have 83 members in the league, but only 50 can enter the contest. So you can join our league, but you got to be on your P's and Q's once it rolls around on Monday to get your lineup in there, get your $5 in, so you can be a part of our weekly contest.
Yeah, you know what we're going to do right now, Tucker, and I apologize for people that might be listening to this podcast audio right before the game, because we are going to post this as soon as we're done on all our podcast channels. But for anyone watching on YouTube, I'm going to share the link in the chat here that goes to our DraftKings leagues. Like I said, we've got 7 spots, and I haven't updated it, so maybe that'll change here. But we can get that thing full before the end of this show. That would be awesome. But we've got 3 days before it goes live, in case you want to do some studying. But yeah, you just ran through your team. Let me run through mine real quick. I've got Derek Carr, Saquon Barkley, Michael Carter. I feel like he's an underrated guy. I had a lot of, fantasy football people that I trust that were talking about him, but in the same breath, I drafted Breece Hall as well. So, in my regular fantasy league, cause rookie top picks, they're going to get the ball. Then Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, and I got Chase Claypool going in this one. Not sure how I feel about that going up against Belichick. But Mitch Trubisky doing something a little bit.
He is, man.
I like when guys with him and Geno and those guys just get trashed for a long time in their careers, that just hang around and they get an opportunity to go out and play well. Love to see it. And then I got Will Dissly, and then I got Dameon Pierce with the Texans as my flex. Lovie Smith came out this week and said he needs to get more involved in the offense. I'm not a huge believer in Davis Mills. I love the story. Not a huge believer in him, being the future quarterback of the Houston Texans. But I do think that Dameon Pierce should be getting the ball some more, and hopefully, spike against Denver. We'll see how Denver bounces back after their tough loss that has their head coach getting a lot of questions about what's going on him. So hopefully Dameon Pierce can get the ball a lot and just run it right down their throats. So, and then I got Seattle Seahawks for my defense. I think Pete Carroll going up against a division opponent, defensive guy, Trey Lance, young quarterback. Take the Seahawks there and see if they can make some stuff happen.
For sure.
Not confident in that team, though, Tucker. I'm the one who drafted him. I could have done anything. Still not confident in that team, and it's probably why it might actually do pretty good, because I'm not. Last week, I thought my team was going to do great, and it was the complete opposite.
It is tough. It's tough. It's a lot of matchup-based stuff. It's really all that this daily fantasy is. What I do like about daily fantasy is you don't have to keep the same players. You can pick from whoever you want. You can have the same players as the guy next to you. So that's what's good about daily fantasy. Why don't we talk about this game?
Yeah. Chat room wants us to talk about this game tonight, and we're going to get there. It just took us a little bit, but Tucker, I've said it this week. Orlando Brown Jr. This is a game that he bet on himself for, going up against Joey Bosa, going up against Khalil Mack, and what those guys do up front, and the havoc that they have to create by the way that their defense is structured. This is a huge game for Orlando Brown Jr. Wanted the big contract, didn't get it, bet on himself, and this is what I was talking about with Brett Coleman yesterday. Either way, this game is going to be used in contract negotiations. If it's going poorly, the Chiefs are going to use this game, be like a top paid left tackle, a guy that wants to reset the market, or at least tease resetting the market up where Trent Williams is at. And Trent Williams is his own stratosphere as far as players go. Not that Orlando Brown Jr. is not a great player, and not that he became a free agent at the right time and has a lot of leverage when the Chiefs traded for him and then didn't give him an extension. The second that happened, player has a lot of leverage. But if he wants to continue and add even more leverage and have at the end of it be like, hey, the player bet on himself and it worked out for him. We've seen that happen in years past in Kansas City. Happened with Eric Berry, happened with Justin Houston. Those guys got paid a year later than they probably should have and ended up being more expensive and a headache. Whereas other guys took the contracts earlier. Eric Fisher got paid. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif got paid. When you're talking about that era of Chiefs and what they did financially, with the roster composition, the way they spent the money. But to me, it's Orlando Brown Jr. And if you're looking for a player offensively, and this kind of ties back to the daily fantasy stuff, I think this is a game for McCole Hardman. I think whenever Andy Reid faces edge rushers who do what they do, you get a lot of, again, ghost action, end arounds, jet sweeps, guys getting those edge rushers, getting Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa to think left to right, think lateral rather than north and south and get after it. You can make this game basically a glorified 7-on-7 by getting the ball out quickly, whether the bubble screens, the slip screens, get those guys moving all over the place, going left to right. And McCole Hardman, that has been a lot of what he's been about. And then in that regard, based on what we're talking about with Brett, that cover one, and he was talking about how they'll go 3-by-1, put three fast dudes on one side, isolate Kelsey on the other. Safety has to come down, because when they do that and he has a shortened split, the cornerback or safety, whoever's man up on Kelsey, has to shade to the outside, which is just giving the inside release. So they have to bring a safety down to bracket and take that away. You bring the backside safety down with three guys on the other side that can all run. You put MVS and McCole, those over routes, which take a while, but those over routes are not going to be guarded. You can't your safety's not going to run the pull. Like, he's not going to drop and run and fake coming down on Kelsey to do that. And if that doesn't make sense to you, if it happens in this game, don't worry. I'll clip this and then I'll put the play over it and be like, this is exactly what I was just talking about. But it's Orlando Brown Jr. giving them time, and it's letting those plays develop down the field. And if it's getting them thinking, lateral early in the game, whether it's running up the middle, getting the ends to crash, which Brett talked about, and I thought it was a great conversation. You should go back and listen to that if you haven't already. But if not, get Pat outside the pocket, move them around, do the boot action, move them around, do all those different things, all those crazy tight end screens where they get guys running all over the place. All of that to create confusion. So key matchups for me, or key matchup is Orlando Brown Jr. up front. And how does he handle that? How do they move Bosa and Mack around? And then guy that I expect to have a big game would be McCole Hardman.
Kind of on the same vein, I guess, as you. I'm going to stick with the offensive line. Trey Smith comes into this game with a questionable designation. Will he play? We don't know. We don't know yet. Going to be a game time decision. If not, Nick Allegretti will more than likely step in there and he played good, and I think he played just fine against the Arizona Cardinals. Listen, I've had a lot of people ask me like, "Hey, what did you think about Nick Allegretti?" And I would say, "Well, did you notice him in the game?"
Right.
And they'll be like, "Well, no, not really." That's good. Then he did his job. So that's really how you have to judge backup offensive linemen. If you don't notice them, they're doing a good thing. They're doing their job right. Matt Lane brought this up on the KC Laboratory yesterday. The interior of this Chargers defensive line aren't really pass rushers. They're more run stuffers to kind of combat, you got the pass rush from the outside. Let's keep run stuffing on the inside. So I'm curious to see how protection-wise, I'm sure they'll be fine in the middle. But when it comes to the run, Trey Smith, they like to run behind Trey Smith. That's the guy who is going to get you that push forward. And Nick Allegretti is a very physical guy as well, too. Nick Allegretti is more of I would say more of a run guard than he is a pass guard. But I want to see how the run schemes change if Trey Smith isn't in there. I think if Trey Smith's in there and he feels good to go, they're gonna be the same. But I'm curious to see how those change if Trey Smith does miss this game. I don't know. I find it hard for Trey Smith to miss this game, especially as a full participant on Wednesday leading up into the game. I think that's somewhat of a good sign that he was a full participant. So we'll see there. We'll make sure to stay tuned on Twitter. There'll be plenty of updates, I'm sure, leading up to the game. And I saw somebody brought up in the comment section here, BJ, about the field. This is the 50th anniversary of Arrowhead. They went back to the very first
Beautiful
painting of the field. Oh, it's gorgeous. I love it. I love the red zones more than I like the yellow end zones. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Travis Hogan, who's the sod father, I think is what Scott put out on social media on the KC Sports Network account, which is perfect. If it's not George Toma, I don't know if he's ever been referred to that, but George Toma is the sod father. Side story, if you don't know George Toma, he's the guy when it comes to professional fields, whether he's Kansas City based or he lives here, but actually ran into him before the Super Bowl down in Miami. He was walking around the field because he was taking care of the field for all the Super Bowls. And I saw him and I was like, I need a picture with that guy. I walk around. I was taking pictures with absolutely everybody. I have a picture with George Toma on the sideline about 4 hours before kickoff of the Super Bowl. Awesome. But you bring up Trey Smith, and it's an interesting thing because we've talked about not only has Brett Veach and the personnel staff and Andy Reid, all those guys, completely revamped the Chiefs' offensive line over the last couple of years. They've built an entirely different type of skill set. And this isn't a knock on the past offensive line or saying that there's certain things that these guys can't do. But years ago, because Eric Fisher is a phenomenal at down blocking. I mean, all those guys, all tackles like to down block, let's be honest. Yeah. But Laurent Duvernay-Tardif and Mitch Morse and all of those guys were really, really athletic. That was the deal. It was like with Alex Smith here, it was like the screen game. There were so many swing passes to running backs, like, oh, just a simple like A screen to flat. That was a screen because Mitch Morse is 20 yards down the field, and you don't really see it because he's so athletic to get down the field. You don't notice that that's actually a screen instead of just a quick short pass. It's not set up like a normal screen. You don't have this jailbreak where all the offensive linemen just let all the guys go. Literally one dude, you just noticed that he was 61, was the one 20 yards down the field blocking. Well, that was the skill set of those guys, which is why it was so frustrating at times when it was 3rd and 1 and we couldn't get a push because we wasn't built. Their skill set was more about being athletic and running and getting out in space. That was LDT's deal. As much as he was a fight and claw and do whatever he had to get it done, he wasn't going to physically manhandle anyone in the running game. And so that was kind of that offensive line, and it would struggle in the red zone running the football, or you need a big, 3rd and short. The offensive line they have now is much more, if you're kind of ranking the skill sets of physical downhill running, much higher on that list of being able to run the football. So I think you bring up a great point. If Trey Smith plays in this game, for all the storylines and all the matchups and all the chess match guessing that we're doing on what we might see, maybe the Chiefs do, at least for a little bit. It's Andy Reid here. Let's be honest. Not going to run the ball the entire game, but early in this game, they just do some like simple, like counter power, like just get after it and try to wear those guys down and maybe just go right at, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. That is not a next level, schematic thing. If you go up against a really good pass rusher, you know what you do? You run right at them. Like run, you pull guys, you do all kinds of stuff to physically get after those guys. And this is a buzz thing, and I apologize if I'm going to set some people off right now, Tucker, but I just went to Pro Football Focus. I logged into their premium stats. I'm just going to chalk up the Patrick Mahomes stuff if they don't know how to grade him. because the things he does is unconventional. Somebody I saw on social media said Mike Renner has basically admitted that they don't really know how to grade Mahomes because when he runs to his left, throws back across his body. I don't know how they grade. I know that they put grades out based on broadcast footage. Can't do that. Their stats, I like a lot. Their grades, never really looked into their grades a whole lot because it's completely subjective. They don't know what's going on the field, but it's a product that they have. And I understand they have to defend it to some level. Yeah. But I respect them. I log in. I'm going to keep using their stats and looking at their stuff. And I just talk out of both sides of my mouth. Got to look at the grades a whole lot. But let's look at the grades right now. On the run block, the entire offensive line. You look at run blocking. The Chiefs are the number one team after 1 week against the Arizona. They're the number one run blocking offensive line in the NFL.
Yeah.
And it is not even close. So the Chiefs rank number one, their run blocking grade of 86.9. Okay. Number two is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 74.8. And then 3 is 74.6. And then 74.3, 73.8, 70.6. It drops by like a point or two or less than a point to go from 80, almost 87 to 74. That's as big a jump as, 2 to 16.
Wow.
So like the gap is that big of a difference. So based on what we've seen, freaking get after it and just run right at these guys. I would also like that strategy, Tucker.
I would too. And I do think that running right at, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, every time I go to say Joey Bosa's name, I hesitate because I think, wait, am I saying the right Bosa? It's Joey Bosa that plays for the Chargers. If you run at those guys, they have to hesitate. So they have to hesitate. They can't just go ahead and run full steam at you. If you're always passing the ball, they can kind of pin their ears back, get after the quarterback. If you're gonna let them go and then pull a guard right at them, pull a tackle right at them, man, I think that's kind of a good strategy. BJ, I'm curious if you could look up for me what Nick Allegretti's run blocking grade was on Wednesday or last week.
Tucker, I would love to do that.
Oh, wonderful.
Run blocking grade. Nick Allegretti, 70.3 individually, which was ranked 9th on the Chiefs. So not near the top. You know who's number one?
Is it Trey Smith?
Nope.
Creed Humphrey?
Nope. Doesn't have to be an offensive lineman.
Oh, I guess it's true. It's going to be Travis Kelce, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
The best tight end in NFL history that is talked about that because of all the yards he gets receiving. The people who don't watch him are like, well, he can't block. Oh, yeah. Here's a 20-minute highlight full of highlights just from the last 2 years of him blocking. But yeah, way up there.
That's good. I want to bring up this comment from Matt Kentner. Linebackers covering Eckler will be huge. Yeah, flipping to the other side of the ball, I think for the Chiefs defense, Nick Bolton, Willie Gay are going to have their hands full with that guy. He's good. I know a lot of people, he did put up such a pace last year that's kind of very difficult to replicate in terms of numbers wise, especially from a running back. One of my favorite stats is running backs miss an average of like 3 games a season. I'm curious to how much that's updated in the last couple years since I've seen that stat, maybe a year and a half since I've seen that stat, but it's going to be big because I think you talk about is it Keenan Allen, right? Is not going to be playing in this game. That's a 1 target down. So then you really just have to focus on, Mike Williams, still a big guy to have to try to cover. Austin Eckler is a menace in the passing game as well. So linebackers will definitely have their hands full. The lab guys talked about Jalen Watson a little bit, kind of getting some reps in this game. A little long, lanky corner, be good against the length of Mike Williams. 7th rounder getting a little bit more reps than the 4th rounder, Joshua Williams. I'm sure we'll see them. It's just kind of how that all works on the defensive side of the ball. Starting doesn't really mean anything. And in terms of on the defensive side of the ball, if you've listened to us, you know that already. But I mean, I'm excited to see that. And, I just want to see your guy George get after it. I just want to see George pin his ears back.
Yeah. I want to see him get his first maybe 2 sacks at Arrowhead. But yeah, we got to talk about it too, because Chiefs fans should be surprised. Justin Herbert is a dude.
He's good.
And he's good. He's very, very good. He's going to make some throws that are going to make you be like, oh, wow. Okay. Not having Keenan Allen, I think, is much bigger. I don't think Keenan Allen is the same Keenan Allen that has been a thorn in the Chiefs' side. He's an older player, but he's also very smart, knows how to get open, and is a nice safety valve for a young quarterback to know that he's going to be in the right spot at the right time. I think that's so much more on the mental side that doesn't necessarily come out, always in box scores. And he might have, 4 catches for 40 yards, but how many of those were on third down? How many of those were, when the clock was sped up and he had to turn and kind of fire, trusting his guy was going to be there, and he's there. And then Mike Williams is just, I was hoping the Chiefs were going to go after that guy if the Chargers didn't re-sign him, and they gave him a lot of money and re-signed him because he's a perfect fit for Justin Herbert. He is very much I don't know if you compare him as players, but like a DeAndre Hopkins type where you just throw the ball near him and he's going to go up and make a play. I don't know how many times they've thrown a 9 route to him and he's just gone up and physically high pointed the ball over a corner deep down the sideline. And those are the kinds of big plays that the Chargers have to stay in this game. The Chiefs are going to score points, even if they get pressure and all of those things. Andy Reid is too good with play calling and moving guys around. He has an answer for everything. And so can the Chiefs defense get enough stops that the Chargers make some mistakes trying to keep up? And then this is a game for Arrowhead Stadium. If you're listening to this, you're going to the game. I'm getting texts from people that are literally at Arrowhead now, and they're telling people they could have so many people in line already that they are forced to open the stadium early because the traffic will back up into 435 or, all the different, Blue Ridge cutoff, all the roads around Kansas City or around Arrowhead Stadium. So, it's going to be a thing with Arrowhead tonight, and it definitely could be a huge difference in this one.
Here's a question I want to bring up too, as we were kind of talking about the defense here. You think we see more Leo? This is from Lou82. Thank you for your question. Maybe. I don't know. I think they'll probably err on the side of more defensive backs than they will linebackers, and I think that Leo's going to be that guy that if you want another linebacker, he's that third linebacker. So I think you want as many defensive backs against this team as you can, especially defensively. Them running the ball doesn't really scare me all that much, right? If you want to take the ball out of Justin Herbert's hands, fine, go ahead, do it. We'll let you do that. You just have to. It's got to be that thing. You can't let Tim beat you. That's the one guy you don't want to let beat you. So whatever you got to do to make things difficult on him, maybe play some too high. Apparently that's pretty hard. Maybe that's the breaker. Just play too high.
Revolutionary defense. The cover 2.
Yep.
But yeah, keep sending us your questions if you're watching on YouTube. We appreciate your support. And if you're listening to the podcast after, we appreciate your support and catching that podcast before the game. We know it's a short shelf life for this one with the Thursday night game, but appreciate everybody out there who's watching. If you are on YouTube and you have not yet liked and subscribed, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn those notifications on. We will be doing a second screen watch party again tonight. We'll go live whenever Tucker's got it ready. Last time it was right at kickoff. So we're going to get there hours early this time to make sure we are all set up and ready to go. If you're not going to be at Arrowhead and you're in the Kansas City area, you want to come hang out with us, we will be at the Kingdom Bar and Grill out in Overland Park. It's at 127th and Antioch. Make sure you get there early. It does fill up for the game. Clears out pretty quickly after the game. When we started going live for the post-game show, people hang out for a while. But if you want to get there, get a spot, come hang out. We got some cool stuff. We got a bunch of food and drink specials. It should be a good time. But we will be doing that second screen watch party. If you want to come hang out with us, we'll be right back on the same YouTube channel. So again, hit that like, subscribe, turn notifications on, and you'll get to hang out with us. Just kind of like, we're sitting on the couch, drinking beers, watching the game together. Had a lot of fun with it last week. A lot of people tuned in. It was a lot of fun, Tuck.
Yeah, I do too. I liked it. It had a good time. I'm looking to build those links out ahead of time. So if you are keeping an eye on the YouTube channel, you should get that live link where you can just you can go in there, you can click on, you'll be able to see it. You can click on the link and you can put set reminder. You can hit set reminder for when we do go live. You'll be able to your YouTube will notify you and say, hey, these guys are going live. We're going to be watching the game with you. We'll have the game tracks up there. We'll try to tell you as best we can about what all is going on in with this game. So that was one of my favorite parts, is just giving the reactions. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up the question from Jared Satters. This is a good one. If Derwin shadows Kelsey and has success, 2DC making the biggest impact on the KC offense. I really do feel like I mentioned it earlier. I think McCole Hardman I think this is a game for him. He does a lot of the lateral ghost action, again, end around, jet sweep, those kinds of things to try to negate and slow down Bosa and Matt coming off the edge. We've seen that consistently with Andy Reid since he's been in Kansas City. That's one of the things that they do, getting Mahomes outside of the pocket, another thing to do. And I've kind of teased this a little bit with Nate Taylor on Tuesday on the KCSN update, in that maybe it's one of those games that we see a little bit more from Sky Moore and some of the creative ways with the formations, him lining up in the backfield and just doing some different things with him, some unscouted things with a player that they haven't yet faced. This would be the time to unleash some of that. I know it's still early in the season. As big as the game is, it's still week 2. But I would not be surprised at all if at the end of this game, I'm not going to be surprised if anytime Kelsey ever has a big game. He's had a lot of big games in his career against the Chargers, went over 100 yards in the last meeting in a pretty memorable game. But Sky Moore, McCole Hardman, maybe even MVS, those guys who can get over the top of a defense, you can get some chunk plays against this Chargers defense if you get the right look and you give Patrick Mahomes time, which is why Orlando Brown Jr. and those guys up front are going to be key in this game.
I want to bring up another one too. You were talking about formations. This is from Mike Bessie. Do you see more 3 tight end sets for this game? I think they're going to run with a lot of 3 tight end sets, especially if this game's tough, right? Because it's a week 2 game against a divisional opponent, probably your biggest competition in the division. You haven't had a lot of time to show things on tape. You haven't had a lot of time to see things from them on tape. How much do you really want to open the playbook? Andy Reid, we always talk about that. How much does he really want to open the playbook? It's a divisional game, so is he going to open up the playbook for a divisional game in week 2? We'll find out. But we did see a lot of 3 tight end sets in the preseason, so wouldn't be shocked if we saw a lot tonight.
Yeah, we've got a comment. I think we've got a Chargers fan that's joined the show, saying that Justin Herbert's going to shush the crowd. I think what he just said.
I thought they were a Saints fan. They do like to talk a lot about the Saints. I think he's just a Chiefs hater, is what it is.
Or he just believes in Justin Herbert. Maybe he's an Oregon fan.
Could be an Oregon.
People can have their opinions. Doesn't matter how wrong they are.
That's true.
So let us know if you have any other questions. We'll go for about another 10 minutes here. We're doing something a little different with KCSN update today with the short shelf life of this game, and thought that having a little Q&A with fans and talking a little bit more about this is a good way, Tucker, for both of us to pass the time as we get ready for this game. I'm ready for this one. This is going to be fun.
Me too. I want to bring up this question from 88 Flex, and I'm not too knowledgeable of the kicking fundamentals, but I've wondered why Townsend, by kicking nature of position, wasn't a backup for kickoffs at least. Any thoughts why we didn't have Reed? If we didn't have Reed, I assume Townsend would have been the backup if Reed was not an option, right? Kickoffs are very different than punting. That leg swing, you might just think, hey, you're kicking. It's a very different leg swing. I'm talking with people who know punting and who do kickoffs. There are a lot of college kickers that do kickoffs. There are a lot of college punters that also do kickoffs. So that's something that Tommy might not be comfortable with, and we know Justin Reed is comfortable with it. So I assume that if Justin Reed wasn't a viable option, then that would have been Tommy Townsend, kind of just by nature of the position. But if Justin Reed obviously was comfortable with it, he was sending out the back of the end zone the whole time. So that's really you want from your kickoff guy.
Yeah, we got a question from Cole Kelleher here saying, do you think Noah Gray scores a touchdown tonight? I have him in fantasy. I do think that there's a higher probability, Tucker, just because of what you said, and I agree that having 3 tight ends does make sense. But based on everything we had seen at camp and at in the preseason, that I didn't see Noah Gray getting a ton of looks in the red zone. That is Jody Fortson's area with a more bigger physical kind of guy. And that's not to say they don't have plays that could be designed to, go to Noah Gray, I guess, in those situations. But physically, he's just not a red zone type threat in the same way that obviously Travis Kelce is, and then what we have with Jody Fortson. So I wouldn't be confident in that. But when you're talking fantasy with tight ends, it's a crapshoot anyway. There's like 4 good ones and then everybody else. Unless you take advice from our guy, Nick Leckie, you take Jody Fortson in the 6th round of your fantasy draft. He's never going to live that down, Tucker. And we will be recording Outside the Trenches for anybody who's watching this and may have missed it. We'll be recording that tomorrow. So short week on Thursday, kind of throw a wrench in things and move some stuff around and make sure that we've got content to get you through the weekend as well. So handful of shows recording tomorrow. on Friday that we'll have posted up on the YouTube and on our audio platforms.
Looking at this real quick, staying on the Noah Gray, Jody Fortson thing. Jody Fortson plus 500 anytime touchdown score tonight, according to our friends at DraftKings. Noah Gray plus 650. So if you believe in the Noah Gray touchdown, plus 650, not too shabby for that one. And I've got a question here from Sebastian. Sebastian's coming from Germany, so that's pretty sweet. Thank you for watching. Who do you think will be the lead running back tonight? I think it's got to be Clyde.
Yeah, it's Clyde.
It's going to be Clyde, and I'm excited to see his development from week one. Week one was a very good week for Clyde. That's a very good start to the Clyde Edwards. I don't know what word. I don't want to say redemption tour, but the Clyde Edwards you forgot tour, essentially, for him, because it was a big year for him. I think a lot of hype was building towards this being a really big year for Clyde. First year that he was healthy coming into an off season, because he's been dealing with a whole lot of stuff, and it was like his first normal off season. So very excited to see what Clyde can do tonight in the running game and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, no, I think Clyde's the man. I think it was a great sign for him to come out and play the way he did against the Cardinals. And I think we talked about it, that a lot of that could be forgotten because of what happened at the end of the game. But early, when it was close, they gave the ball to Clyde. He was showing some speed, some burst, broke some tackles. And so that's exactly what you want to see from him. We saw Isaiah Pacheco. We saw what makes him special. We saw all the things that get you excited about what he could do in this offense. Same thing with Jerick McKinnon. I thought had the best individual run in the game on the play that I know they talked about on the breakdown, where Mahomes handing off with the wrong hand. That was a phenomenal run from Jerick McKinnon, who put on a really good move on Budda Baker. He's one of the best safeties and one of the best tackling safeties out in space in the NFL. So that was a really good sign for the entire Chiefs running game. But again, we appreciate if you're watching this, please hit that like and subscribe button. Subscribe to this channel. We've got all kinds of content for you. And we will continue to do our best to provide and entertain, inform, and educate you with what's going on with the Chiefs and the NFL in general. And then if you are a KU, K-State, or Mizzou fan and you're playing around on our YouTube channel, scroll down and click on KCSNU. It's our brand new YouTube channel that houses all of our college content. And we've got multiple shows per week on KU, K-State, and Missouri football. Missouri's the one. We just have one show per week, Tucker, which I don't know how to say this. I don't know how to set this up without feeling like I'm going to hurt your feelings, but it's the one channel that we only have one show per week. And the way that it played out, probably not the worst thing in the world. It becomes, therapy Thursdays or whatever you guys decide with that show. But
I just vent. Yeah. That's all it is.
It's just an airing of grievances. Everybody let you know what we're thinking. But we appreciate all your support. Got lots of good content. 25 shows a week on the network. So we'll go for about another 5 minutes here. If you have any questions, let us know in the YouTube comments, and we will bring those up and react to those. But Tucker, let's do a little score prediction as we wind this thing down. If you're in the comments, let us know what you think the score is going to end up at. Again, Chiefs, I think last time I saw it started going the Chiefs' way, and it was probably because of some of the injury reports. I think it started at 3.5, and I saw it get up to 4.5 again with that over under around 54.5. So what do you have for a score prediction for tonight?
Yeah, looking at the DraftKings line, it's settled at 4. It's now settled at 4 points for the Chiefs. I think I like them to cover it. I know that means that it's more than a field goal. And I know that's what people are, a lot of people saying it's a field goal game. I like the Chiefs to cover this. I think they might even win by 7. So I'm thinking it's one of those games where it's like I almost said 30. I almost said a score that I don't think is possible in football. This is also really tough for me, as I've got to think about like a score, like 30.
Scoregami.
Yeah,
you look it up.
It's true. I'm gonna have a fun one here. I'm gonna go 37-30. I don't know if that score's ever happened, but that's my score prediction is 37-30.
All right, I'm gonna go 31-24. I do think the Chiefs are going to cover. I think they're going to win by 7, and I think it's going to be right around that over-under at 54.5. So 31-24, getting everybody to sweat it out. But yeah, this is a big one, and the fact that it is week 2, if the Chiefs don't end up winning this, it's not the end of everything, but it is going to leave some work to do, and that's where we've had that conversation of, do I feel like the Broncos or the Raiders are good enough to win the division? No. Do I think they have enough talent with Devontae Adams joining and with Chandler Jones getting out there and some different things. The Raiders are good enough, and they have enough talent with Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow. They could bite you for a game or two. They could really steal your thunder and kind of play spoiler to you. Same thing with Russell Wilson of the Broncos. Don't think they're going to be good enough to consistently win every week with the schedule that everybody in the AFC West has, particularly with what the Chiefs have. But do I think that they could come up and bite the Chargers if the Chiefs drop this game tonight, where you're rooting for the Raiders or the Broncos, and the fact that they loaded up is going to help the Chiefs down the road? Yes. But I also think that you start 2-0 and become the only team, right? Raiders are the only team in the AFC, if they win, that will start at 2-0. No, we wouldn't know that yet.
That's true.
Kendall Gambit talked about that on the thing. But anyway, starting off 1-0 in the division, getting the Chargers down to start, start it off would be huge. And we talked about on this network how insufferable that Chiefs fans in large part have already become, just because of all the success that we've had. We're starting to feel ourselves a little bit. You've been to 4 straight AFC title games, the golden age of Chiefs football right now. But, with what the AFC did and what the AFC West did, it almost felt like collusion. Like everyone's just trying to keep the Chiefs from winning, because we had never seen a division really go all in and seemingly like try to attack the Chiefs. And if you still can't beat us and you did everything in your power with all the trades and the big money thrown away, we're going to let you know.
Yeah. And
we're going to consistently let you know. And it starts tonight.
It does. I looked up the scoregami, by the way. 37-30 has happened 7 times. So wow. I'm sticking with it a little bit more than I thought. It's an odd score. It's an odd score, but I like it.
All right, I know most people watching this probably saw the stat. Actually originated with Charles Goldman. I'm not going to take credit for that, but we used it yesterday for the stat of the week. Also presented by DraftKings. But Patrick Mahomes in the month of September, 12-2 record, fine. 69% completion percentage, nice. 320 yards per game, very Patrick Mahomes-like. Those are crazy. Those are really, really good numbers, especially coming off the start of the season. But you hear 320 yards per game, it's like, yeah, he's the best in the league. That's kind of what you expect. 46 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Those are video game numbers. And that's like playing like on easy mode, like video game numbers. Or like when I used to just destroy my son in Madden, and then now he's actually really good. He's getting much better, Tucker. I can't take it easy on him anymore. But 46 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. I still don't think, no matter how much we talk about it, I still don't think we properly grasp what we're watching right now with Patrick Mahomes.
I think Brett Coleman made a really good point on yesterday's KCSN update. That's not even a full season's worth of games. Like, if you talk about that number of games, it's like, 12, 13 games, which is an insane amount of yardage. And it's just incredible what Patrick Mahomes is doing. I think Kent Swanson made this point about how the narrative is starting to turn towards Patrick Mahomes being like, oh, like he's actually really good. Like we forgot, like we took this for granted last couple years, but we really need to recognize how good he is. And I think that's going to be the case this year. I like the over 297.5 passing yards for Patrick Mahomes. Go ahead and smash that over. Same game parlay it with the Chiefs money line, and maybe anytime touchdown score for Travis Kelce. That's a safe parlay. I like that parlay a lot. Maybe what I'll play tonight.
I had a few that I'm playing tonight.
I've got to wait till I get to the Kingdom Bar before I can do anything. But
Missouri problems. I still think, and we're gonna put this idea out there publicly now, because I think it's a phenomenal idea for any sports book or DraftKings. Be a great idea. I'll pass the message along. But to have a parking area just on the other side of the state line, that's the DraftKings parking area for everybody in the state of Missouri, can just park, have like a score, like you have to monitor it, but have like a board with all the lines and just kind of like make it very gambling friendly in this little parking lot, kind of like one of those ride share parking lots that you see on the side of the highway or something. Just make it the DraftKings parking lot and just really lean into the fact that, although it's reported that Mike Parson, the governor of Missouri, is trying to get some special session to get gambling passed in the state of Missouri very quickly, but I don't hold my breath on anything in that regard. But I really think it'd be funny if you're driving down the highway and right as you cross state line, you see this big DraftKings parking lot sign, and there's just a bunch of Young dude just sitting there on their phone getting their bets in.
You already
It'd be
see that
funny.
at every public park in KCK. If you see my car at a public park in KCK, mind your business.
He's got work. He's working.
Yes, it is.
All right. That is all we've got for today's KCSN update. We appreciate it. Again, Tucker's taking the Chiefs 37-30. I'm taking the Chiefs 31-24. Obviously, we are biased, but this is a big one. Regardless, before we knew exactly when this game was going to happen and the schedule came out in May, we knew that the Chiefs playing and hosting the Chargers was going to be one of the 3 or 4 biggest games of the season. The fact that it's in week 2 in prime time to open up Arrowhead. Tucker, you mentioned it off the top of the show. They've got the throwback end zones, the way that they're painted to honor the 50th anniversary of Arrowhead Stadium. Like, it's just setting up to be a beautiful, beautiful night. If you're going out to the game, fucking be loud and just be absolutely crazy. Again, we've said it for years that, Chiefs fans, they don't go to Arrowhead to watch a game. They go to participate in the game. And that is the best description I've ever heard of Chiefs Kingdom, which Tucker and I grew up in and we know all about. So enjoy that. We'll have our second screen watch party for anybody who's not going to be out there on this YouTube channel. So hit that subscribe, turn notifications on so you don't lose the opportunity to join us there. And then, we'll have plenty of content after the game with our live post-game show. James Palmer from NFL Network is going to be joining us live from Arrowhead Stadium after the game. And then Craig Stout, Maddie Lane will be joining us. And then Kent Swanson and I will be hosting. And Tucker will be dropping in all the breaking news that comes from the pressers and everything else. So we'll be up late and all day tomorrow and all this weekend providing more great content for you here at KC Sports Network. Appreciate everybody for watching and letting us distract you from part of your day as we get ready. Kick off in about 7 hours or so. So enjoy it. Chiefs Kingdom. Appreciate you for watching. We will see you later.